Your channel. My name is Brad and this is SuperCoach Pro. We are doing a video on my top 6 and top 8 defenders in terms of who I think is going to finish from 1 to 8. And then we'll look at the forwards and midfielders in a later video. So I'm going to break these up into different segments so it's not one big video for you. Now, starting off in the back line, for me, it's pretty obvious who we're going to pick for D1 for various reasons. And that is Nick Dacos. Reasons why: he's got the best VC and C options every week, probably the better 4 of any of these defenders. And for this reason, we'll just go through it really quick. So last year, his high score of 151, not as big as a Sicily or a Houston and players like that, but his low score was a 41. Pretty sure that was injury affected. But I just feel like he's always really consistent and he is a safe VC option, which I've already mentioned. But you have a look at his scoring history. There's a lot of 130s. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's got 7 130 pluses in him. A couple of down games, which is not too bad. That's only a handful, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. But I just feel like he is one of those players that you either start or you bring in round 6. There's nowhere in between. So make sure you do have a backup plan to, maybe you've got a mid-pricer that you reckon can make a quick 100K and then you can upgrade to a Dacos, because that is my sort of plan thinking at the moment. Now, for my D2 finish, I think it is simple as Sicily. He's probably got a better ceiling than Dacos so far, but I feel like that could all but change. But this is because of his contested marks, his kick-ins and all that as well. So he can have those games where they are pretty huge. So if we're looking at his stats from last season as well, he does got really good ceiling games, like a 166, 171, 172, etc. So if he's got some Saturday games there, you want to chuck a VC because you know he could go huge, especially if you're not starting players like the Bonds. I feel like he's a very valuable player early on. There's no question about his role. I don't think he'll ever play forward again. So for me, he's number 2 finishing. Spot 3, I found it a little bit more difficult to pick a player, but I think we're going to go Tommy Stewart. Now, I say that because he's playing in the guts a little bit, and we've never really seen scoring of him consistently playing in the guts and then moving back to the back line. So I feel like if he plays in the guts, he actually might drop some points and you might be able to pick him up for cheaper. But I've always loved his ceiling games. He can go off. He doesn't have too many bad games. They're normally in the 90s when he has a bad game, which is, I feel he's got the best floor out of any of these premiums, apart from Dacos potentially. You look at the 2023 season, just as I thought, there's 4 scores of 90 in there, and then one bad score of 69 is injury affected because you can see that the minutes played was only 16. So, ever concerned, just have a look at the minutes played in here, and it'll give you pretty clear detail to what happened in that game instead of having to jump on Footy Wire or Fan Footy or any of that. For me, ranked 4th, I feel like we'll stay this way as Luke Ryan. Now, my feeling for that is Young moves into the midfield, Chapman to, halfback flank / wing. I feel like there's just going to be a little bit more kick-ins for him again this year. Unless they use a faster type, like that ex-Cats guy that's gone away from me. But I just feel like he will be the man, either kicking it in or the first kick 2. And Freo had the good buy. So I'd probably almost like him over Dacos early on if you wanted to, because you're going to bank the points. You're going to get the points throughout the whole buys. And then he's also not a bad VC and C shout anyway. So I don't feel like Dacos is a must start, but I do understand why 61% of competition already have him. So on that, my 5th selection is probably going to be Hayden Young. And it's to do with midfield minutes. If he wasn't in the midfield or training on the midfielders all preseason, I wouldn't like the pick, to be honest, but I feel like he's about a 103 to 107 kind of guy this year, which he could knock off a Stewart if Stewart's midfield role becomes too much. So I do like Young out of all these picks in terms of value. Average 106, I think, in the back 5 games. And we know what he can do in the midfield from that small size sample. So I do like that selection. I feel like he's a better selection than Ridley. And that's why 36% have picked him over Jordan Ridley. Now, number 6 pick for me, I'm probably going to pick Sinclair. Now, he plays a lot better at Marvel games. If you have a look at his Marvel history, it's crazy good. But he's got the first 6 games. Well, he only plays 2 at Marvel in the first 6. So I don't love that pick. I feel like you can get him for cheaper for that very reason. So you have a look at, where is it? Make sure it's in 2024. To look at the start of the season, he has got a lot of away games. So I know you're thinking, why the MCG away? Well, it's pretty obvious, but he doesn't score as well there, and I'm not sure why. Anyway, so he's a back end player. You know, maybe you pick him up. Where's his buy? Must be round 15 because it's not there. So that's a good run after the buy. Is a lot of Marvel games. So that's when I'd be picking up St Kilda players if I wanted to finish off my team. Also, you can get a good look at Steele throughout the year and know that he's going to smash it out the park if he's averaging well. And then you see that, grab him after a buy as well. So my 7th defender, I think, will average the highest. 7 and 8 could be really anyone in this sort of range, to be honest. I'm probably leaning towards Houston or Jaden Short. Now, for me, Houston is probably the worst out of these guys in terms of his floor games, meaning his bad games, obviously, if you didn't already know that. And you look at 2023, sorted out by score. He's got a lot of ugly games. I think there's about 8 or 9 games there under the 100. So he's not a bad VC option every now and then, but 3 games a year, are you really going to risk it? Probably not. But he's there purely based on the buys as well. He's average. He's only going to have that 1 buy throughout the season, and it's a good one as well. So here's my number 7 pick, and number 8 to finish off this video, because I'll do a separate part of the midfield, rucks and forwards. 8 ranked defender, I think this year will be Jaden Short, and purely because I think he'll move to the halfback flank again. He'll probably share kickouts with Rioli and Voston, I'd say. But I do feel like he'll be that racket up player that's the link up between, using that long foot of his to go to the forward line. So I think he'll get a lot of inside 50s as well, without banging on the boot like he did in the midfield and sort of going nowhere with it. So I think if he's got the time down back, he finishes 8 for me. So that is the end of the video. If you haven't already subbed, please sub, because 80% of you watching the videos and viewing and whatnot aren't subs. So give it a like as well, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a good one.